Hey, folks. Thank you for tuning in for a Friday Night Live with Strong Roots Resources. And I've got a guest and a new friend here with me tonight. This is Sandy Epplett. She is uh, one heck of a lady who is pulling off quite the feat for this side of the state. Sandy is I would say the primary organizer and the powerhouse behind getting both the East Tennessee Homestead Alliance group community together, as well as the first annual East Tennessee Homestead Alliance Festival. And that's going to be this coming weekend, or rather next weekend, July 12th and 13th at the Townsend Visitor Center. So I'm going to turn it over to her for a minute, let her talk about what gave her this idea to pursue this kind of thing, what led her to that decision, and maybe just kind of a status update here, a week before all this is set to launch.
Sure. Yeah. Oh man, what gave me the vision? Because I have harebrained ideas most of the time. My husband thinks I've lost my nut. If you were to really go back and look at kind of my life, I don't belong here. I grew up in a gym on Hormel chili. I had no idea where my vegetables came from. I didn't even want to eat a vegetable for that matter. I grew up on TV dinners. I didn't know the first thing about food, sustainability, nothing until I got married and I married a farmer. And he wanted me to cook him some vegetables one night. And I was like, you got the wrong girl. This girl doesn't eat vegetables. This girl doesn't cook vegetables. And so fast forward, we've been together almost 40 years now. And we moved with his parents to restore their home. And I became a student of my mother-in-law's School of Dirt. So she ran, along with her husband and the kids, there's 5 kids, a 40-acre farm for a long time. And she lived through the Depression. So she knew everything about sustainability, canning, recycling, reusing, sewing, you name it, the woman knew it. And she taught me. I was like a sponge. I was very young, came out of the gym, was coaching, and then went to live there, restore their home. And I just wanted to learn everything. So I began to learn all the heritage skills, things that we call them heritage skills today because we don't have them as much, right? I'm hoping to change that paradigm, that they don't need to be heritage anymore, that they're just a part of our everyday lives. So she taught me all of that. And through those years, I began to really fall in love with gardening, and I began to fall in love with sustainability. I began to challenge myself on ways to use less and do more and recycle and reuse, all that kind of stuff. And then we moved to Tennessee, and I continued in my fitness business, but I wanted a garden. So husband gave me a garden, took a few years to get chickens. We got some chickens, and I really began to start sharing like online things about how to can. And I started doing these like online lives. Well, that kind of morphed into me doing online, or not online, but in-person workshops. And I'm going to walk outside. We're a little bit loud in here, so let me just walk outside. So I began to do those workshops here at our home. I have a canning kitchen downstairs, and so it was a lot of fun. A lot of people showed up. And then I had someone say, I want you to come out here and I want you to do this on our farm. And I was like, oh my gosh, I'd love to do that. Let me come out. Let me look at it. And as soon as I saw the farm, I was like, oh my gosh, there's a lot of land here. Have you ever thought, like, could I do like a homestead festival here? She was like, absolutely. Yeah, you could definitely do that. Well, my husband and I had just been to two homestead festivals that year. And we were kind of wondering, like, why is there nothing in East Tennessee? Why don't we see anything here? Now, of course, we had just come out of COVID. So that made sense to me that maybe there wasn't anything. But we went out there and I was like, I really feel like we've got this one in the Columbia, Nashville area. We've got the one way out in Virginia, and we have some up in Missouri. And I'm like, we're in a hub of an area that I feel like we could really empower people in this area so they maybe don't have to travel as far to go to a homestead festival to meet their community. And it wasn't just about, I want to have a homestead festival. It was about, I want to have a way to gather people together in one location that's large enough that we can empower them, we can teach them. In with East Tennessee Homestead Alliance, the whole goal is to be an alliance, which is taking people that want to join and lock arms together for a mutual cause. And that mutual cause is embracing those heritage skills, cultivating community, and equipping the next generation. If we don't equip this next generation with these skills, we're going to lose an entire generation of farming, gardening, sustainability. And so that's real my heart for this, is to see this next generation of people come up, and it's not something that they have to scramble about, like, who can I go to? My hope is that they're going to be able to find all those people in one location, lock arms with them, understand where they are, and begin to tap into those resources that are around them. So that's really kind of how it came about. The original location didn't end up being large enough for us, and so we found this one in Townsend where we will be meeting, and we'll be able to grow there. That's really kind of how it came. We had, like you were at that very first meeting, kind of that informational meeting where we had 120 people there wanting to know, what is this all about and where are we headed? And lots of excitement, lots of engagement in that. And that really gave me kind of the springboard to say, all right, let's do this. Let's move forward. So that's what we did, kind of single-handedly, but that's what we did.
Awesome. So when we had that meeting in January, and like I said, there were about 120 people there. From that point forward to now, how have you viewed the movement or the momentum of the alliance? What's been your perspective on that?
So I mean, it's definitely moved forward very well. We've had a lot of great feedback from people as far as, like, moving towards the festival. Lots of ideas from people of what they would like to see and like to hear, ways in which they want to be involved. So I feel like it's been a very positive, forward moving idea. And now it's, by next weekend, it's no longer an idea. It's going to actually be an actionable step that we took. It's been a lot of work. That's definitely not for the faint of heart to go into this. I probably work 60 hours a week on, I don't get paid to put this on. But it's a labor of love. So, yeah.
Awesome. So for folks who are planning to come out, or just, they're waiting until they're certain about their weekend and they're going to, tickets are available at the door. The cost will be a little bit higher by having to do that, but they will be available at the door. How would you suggest people make the most of their festival experience? Because I know when I go, like, I have a notebook, and I have, like, because I hit so many of these now. I hit 4 or 5 a year in various parts of the state. I kind of have like I have a little bit of a personal protocol that I follow, that I make sure I get as much value out of that event as possible. So what kind of suggestions do you have for folks who want to be able to do that?
I think it's super important to come, number one, open-minded, to be able to hear what others are saying. Might be something different than what you're currently doing. So I think it's good to be able to lean into some of these speakers that have the experience that they do. And I think it's important to, like you said, you bring a notebook, you're writing down those things that hit you. I never want to leave to my memory some really good quotes or good anecdotes or ways in which people have addressed a problem, or, that I might have, and have created a solution. If I don't write that down, whether it's, I'm old school, so I tend to write in a notebook, but I mean, just taking the notes in their phone, I think that's really important for people. We've had some comments like, why would I go to this when I can just go to YouTube and learn? And yes, we can all go to YouTube and learn. There's a ton to learn on YouTube, but there's nothing like being in the room. There's nothing like being right there where people are talking, where they're communicating together, they're asking questions, you're listening in on a conversation, and you realize, oh my gosh, that's exactly what I've been struggling with, in my garden or in my permaculture or whatever. And you just heard somebody give an answer, right? So I feel like it's a very well-rounded arena for people to glean some of the things that they want. You're not going to be able to go to every single one of the speakers' presentations. We tried to do a few doubles so that people could kind of do that on on the next day. So I think it's just important that people come with an open mind and an open heart to hear what the speakers are saying. Not everybody's going to agree with everybody, and that's okay. We're all human. We can all be adults and take our notes down and move on to the next thing. There's going to be so many demonstrations. Like there's just a chock full, a lot of information. You could go to college and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars to learn something. You can come here for $99 and be immersed with all of the various experts in their field that aren't just teaching you something out of a book. They've literally lived this. They have, just like you were saying, like, your whole bunny experience, that's created a whole new realm for you, right? People have lived through this and they're now talking from that experience. And there's nothing like that. That's something that I feel like is just really precious that we've missed with not being in the room with people. So I would definitely say, come with a notebook or come with your phone that you can take notes. We will be videoing all of the presentations, and then we will have those available to ticket holders after. It's probably going to take us a couple months to edit through everything, but then get that up on the website. So some people feel like, I couldn't take enough notes or didn't get to enough of the presentations I wanted to. They'll have that option in a few months.
Absolutely. Yeah, I've found that useful myself because sometimes there's just a schedule conflict, and that's it's almost become kind of an expected bonus to most of these festivals is that they are filmed. I wanted to jump off of what you're saying about taking notes. So in a minute, I would like to hear about how it came about that Joel Salatin's going to be the keynote speaker. I've seen Joel speak a few times now at other festivals, and something really cool happened. The one he was the Self Reliance Festival he was at. I believe this would have been the one in March, maybe it was October, but anyhow, one or two Self Reliance festivals ago, Joel Salatin was there, and my good friend Toolman Tim Cook was doing his presentation on overcoming the poverty mindset, and Joel grabbed a seat in the audience right in front of me and had his notebook out, and one of the men who has been one of my biggest mentors for over 20 years now was taking notes about what my other good friend was sharing about how he literally changed everything in his life by changing his attitude. And so, if Joel Salatin, if a man who is that brilliant and that well read and experienced can sit down and take notes from a Canadian talking about turning his life around, then I think it would serve folks to be prepared to do that. It's just so stinking valuable. I know one thing we've done at previous festivals of different sorts was to just have, because we're going to be having so many conversations with people, and sometimes you're kind of having multiple conversations at one time. So just have a little, if you don't have business cards, just have a real quick, like 5x9 card with your name and your number and your general area, and have a bunch of them on you so you can just make that connection right away. Because even if people are coming from a little bit far away, I know personally it never fails. I'll go to Camden, Tennessee for an event, and I'll meet somebody who's 20 minutes from the farm. So so like be prepared to make those exchanges real quick. Like, don't be shy. It's kind of funny. A bunch of us who are really into homesteading veer more to the side of being introverted. I know I certainly do. So I will reserve my people energy coming up to an event like that, so that when I am there, I can make sure that I can put forth that effort, because it just pays
Sure.
off every time.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I think it's super important to be able to know that this is not just about everyone just coming to learn, but it's also networking so that people can begin to find out who is in their area. I'm really happy about all the vendors that we have coming, and all, the majority of the speakers are also have a vendor table so that all of the attendees can drop in there and realize, oh, I have a grass-fed beef farmer over here. Oh, I've got Carrie over here who does permaculture. That's the heart of all of this. This is an alliance. This is a locking of those arms together so that we can all move forward towards that common goal of being more sustainable, of having more food security, of being able to even just know where your community is so that we can rally around one another and help one another out in those times of need, because we're going to probably have them, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. And back to
Yeah.
Joel. So
Sure.
Joel is amazing, just a super neat guy. The question you had was, how did you get Joel here? I just asked him. I just emailed. I went on to Joel's website. I'm like, who's the gatekeeper? I'm going to go find the gatekeeper and I'm going to email the gatekeeper. Hey, this is who I am. I am nobody. I've never done this before. I have no idea what I'm doing, but I'd really like Joel to come speak. So what do you think? And Joel actually himself wrote me back from his personal email and said, I want you to converse with me. And we've been back and forth in emails. I mean, again, I'm paying him a bunch of money, but he's coming, So
Yeah.
he doesn't come cheap, but nor should he. He's the OG of so much of this, and he has so much value to offer us. And the fact that, like you said, he's in the front row taking notes, like that means a lot. Every day is a school day. None of us are above learning from somebody else. I don't care what you think you know. And that's why I'm kind of, my heart is like, come with an open heart, come open minded to hear what others have to say, because somebody might have a solution for the very problem that you are. Or maybe you're just going to find a great connection with somebody that you can lock arms with. Yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. I mean, the community that I have worked to build really since about 2020 only happened because I started going to events and to workshops. And it kind of just gradually and steadily uh, built up from there by going to Nicole's workshop in 2020, and then all these other events, both the bigger ones, smaller local ones, GSD days, things like that. And now, like, I'm really happy to say that I can go to pretty much any end of this state and have several people between Knoxville and wherever I'm going, where if I was in some kind of pickle with a vehicle or anything like that, I would be able to holler at somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And even if they weren't available, they would be able to holler at somebody else. And it's really reassuring when you're tooling around the state for these consults and whatnot in a 97 Jeep that has been known to do weird stuff from time to time, that I have that. And it's so much more, it's not even just about not having to worry so much. It's a really, really warm feeling that probably has been very normal for us humans up until maybe a couple of generations ago, when things got really, kind of since the Industrial Revolution, all these things have come into play that has tried to push us all apart.
Mm-hmm.
And what we're doing now is a very deliberate kind of counterattack to that. And I'm sure to some people, like right now, there are people out in the mountains, down in the hollers, and they've been doing all this stuff all along. And they probably think we're crazy for posting our garden pictures on Instagram. and doing a festival and paying to go to a festival. But the fact is we have to get back to that somehow, or if not back to it, into a new form that kind of fits with the kind of era that we're in now.
Right.
And this is just one of the ways to do it. So
Yeah.
if it's weird, it's weird.
Well, and honestly, Carrie, it's just one more piece to that puzzle. A festival isn't the whole puzzle. This alliance isn't the whole puzzle. This is just, I like to think of it kind of like a hub with all these spokes, so we're that center of that wheel. And hopefully, we're going to begin building out those spokes, through various things, through the festival, so the festival comes off that, through a directory where people can know, hey, if I go to the website, I know I can find meat here and pigs here and this here, right? And then maybe there's workshops on another spoke, and maybe there's community growing opportunities, right? So it's all of those spokes are what's going to make up that wheel. And we're just one wheel, and we're in the East Tennessee area, right? So our hope is that this will grow to a place that people will recognize when they come to the East Tennessee area that they have a lot a lot of resources they can pull from.
Yeah. Yeah, and these kind of things tend to they take a life of their own. I'm sure you've noticed, like, you kind of set something into motion, and then it just a lot of it just carries forth from there. Different people pick up, they've got their thing that they are good at, and they take that and they run with it. And it's a very kind of organic process, is kind of what I've observed the last few years. What would you say that you are most looking forward to about next weekend?
Birthing the baby. So this has been like being pregnant with a baby, and I'm coming up to that time. It's about ready to birth. And so I'm really looking forward to everything, Carrie. Honestly, this has been such a love for me, such a labor of love to do this. I really want to meet people. I want to see people gathering together and meeting others. Like, I'm a big um, community people person, even though I'm mostly an
Mhm.
introvert. But I love to see just people gathered together, learning. So there's so much. That's so hard to put into words, because it's literally like I'm getting ready to have a baby, and all you can think about is, I just want the baby to be healthy, breathing good, all fingers and toes, and then we're just gonna like sink in, right? I think for me, it's getting through that first opening ceremonies that first morning, and then after that, it's just going to be like, I'm just going to meander
Yeah.
around and just watch everybody do their thing, like being able to sit back and see what you've kind of built or birthed, is just, there's something about that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I get that. When we have our gatherings up here, generally speaking, we get 10, 15, 20 people. Kind of depends on the time of year and what the weather's doing at that time. But one of my favorite things to do is to try to excuse myself for just a couple of minutes and go to an edge and watch the new
Mhm.
connections being made. And
Yeah.
just,
Yeah.
or being able, I hear from one person, where I'm like, hey, and this has happened on some of the foraging classes I lead too. Um, connected a couple of women. Like, one lady was really into making flower essences, and this other lady was really into growing all kinds of flowers. And the lady who made the essences lived in an apartment, and then the lady had a couple of acres that she was doing flowers on. And I was like, you guys, numbers
Yeah.
now, you know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and I just love to put that kind of stuff into motion.
Yeah. I love being a connector for people. Like, I want you guys all to meet each other, right? I want you to find your people and lock those arms and do your thing together, start creating these little workshops and whatever all over the place, so that
Yeah,
we're not so spread apart. So there's a lot of places to plug in.
yeah, yeah. It's like a centralized place to get your decentralized connections.
Yeah.
Um, Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I love it. I want to grab a few comments here, and I do think we have a question. I want to thank everybody that's hanging out in the chat this evening. Pippin Ice is here, Margot, Pinky's Garden. I actually got to go down and visit her place near Cleveland, Tennessee, a couple of weekends ago. Tim Riley's over in the Nashville area, and Off Grid Ping, he's out there close to Tim's land in West Tennessee. And Belinda's here. Belinda's excellent lady. Actually, not real far from you. Belinda is in Lenore City.
Oh,
So
yeah, my
I
backyard.
wanted to grab a question here. Tim says, um, as soon as my keyboard cooperates, I'm not going to be able to make this one due to other obligations. Are y'all planning to do another one in the fall or next year? And I know you've been getting input from people about what we're going to do for 2025. So,
Yeah.
what's on your mind about all that?
So we're definitely going to move it to the fall. We had to go with the summer for this year for two reasons. Number one, we were in kind of a crunch mode with the location and being able to actually get a date. And then we wanted to kind of work around Joel's schedule, and that was about all he had available. So that's why July ended up happening. And it is going to be super hot. I'm not going to lie to anybody. But we definitely want to push this out to the fall. So we will be going for the fall next year. We'll be announcing those dates at the festival. And there will be some special announcements going on at the festival. So if you're not going to be there, definitely be watching for, if you're not on my email newsletter list, make sure that you guys get on that. And we can talk about that at the end. But yeah, so it's going to be a fall, not this year, it'll be next year. And a few little tidbits that might be coming out is we are hopefully going to be having like a women's fall gathering, most likely on my little farm, potentially a men's gathering in the winter. Don't hold me to those right now. I want to get through this festival and catch my breath on the other side. But if that doesn't happen this fall, it's definitely in the works for what we want to be able to do and kind of offer some of those smaller gatherings where it can be a little more intimate. People can, we can still have some major speakers come in, maybe share some more, what's the word I'm looking for? Streamlined information, that kind of thing. So yeah, so to answer Tim's question, definitely next fall, and those dates will be announced at the festival.
Awesome. I am a fan of doing them in the fall. I actually I like, April's always pretty good, and then October, even early November can be is usually really nice. Time of year to be doing stuff. And I mean, I think it's just remarkable. You basically said, "Hey, do you guys want to do this in January?" And 6 months later,
Yeah,
here we are, and
I
it's
know.
just quite the undertaking. Do you get enough
Yeah.
sleep at night? I wonder.
Well, so I used to be of the mindset I'll sleep when I'm dead. My brain is usually going 100 miles an hour, and I have my finger in a lot of pies. People say, like you really do need to go sleep, but I am prioritizing my sleep as I'm getting older, so that's a good thing. I do shut my phone off, my computer off, usually at 7:30 at night, and that can be hard sometimes, because people are like. Emailing or texting or whatever, you're like, I lost my ticket or whatever, but it's, Carrie, when you love something so much, I knew I was much. I don't stop thinking about it. I don't stop talking about it. My poor husband is probably ready for this festival to be done so I can stop talking about it and having him create all these projects for me to take there. He's got to build the gallows for the chicken processing and, just all the things that like it's almost like having a gargantuous wedding. And we've put on 3 very large weddings here on our own property, and it's a ton of work. And so we're like in that last week of where there's so much you can't do until the last week.
Yeah.
So it's it's like sun up to sundown of all festival plan, all festival, whatever, running here, running there, but I do get some sleep. Yeah. Thanks for thinking about my health.
Hey, we got to look out for each other. It's just it's easy to overfill our plates, especially those of us who are basically self-employed or running our own businesses. It
Yeah.
can be real hard to turn ourselves off. I
Yeah.
know I had to create a hard limit of my phone goes into do not disturb mode at 8 p.m.
Yeah.
And only certain people are that call is going to come through. Otherwise, it's just because I understand because since I'm in the realm of design and consulting, I understand people get home from work and they have all their questions for me in the evening, but you're most likely going to get your answers in the morning
Yeah.
because you got to draw a line at some point because none of us want to get to the point where we don't like what we're doing anymore because we're overwhelmed.
Right.
Um,
Right.
so I haven't really asked you too much about your current homestead. So you guys are on the lake. How would you describe what your all's current setup is like, um, and are are you where you want to be? Are you guys looking for land? How is that from your perspective?
It's a great question. So we moved from 67 acres to about an acre and a quarter. When we moved here, we bought a shack. Um, you got to be careful what you say throughout life. We would
Mhm.
drive places and we'd be like, man, if we could just have a shack on the water, if we could just have a shack on the water. Well, that's what we bought. We bought a shack on the water and we restored it. And it was a jungle here, absolute jungle. So it's all cleaned up. We've cleaned up the neighbors' properties. So we personally, and then so to answer your question, are we looking for more land? We actually did have an offer in on 77 acres right across the river from us that would have been absolutely perfect for a lot of what we wanted to do. But that never did materialize. And now I think it's a campground. So we've bought up a lot of the land around us, a lot of the stuff across the street. And so we live multi-generationally. All of our kids live here and they live on those different pieces of property across the street. So we
Wow.
have on our personal, well, we own it all, but I mean on the one where my husband and I live, we have a small little garden. We've got a larger corn and potato patch. We've got a nice chicken coop, 25 chickens. Across the street where we have the other properties, we have our bees. My son has his garden, his chickens. My daughter's getting ready to build. They're going to end up with a garden and chickens, but we all do this together. So we all work together. We work in the gardens. We work on the land all together. So at this point, I don't know if we will look for more land. We're always open to that because we've come from kind of big land, with 67 acres. But we do kind of love it here. We do love it on the lake. And I feel like we're able to do the things that we've wanted to do. Can't really have a cow, but I have a friend down the road that has a milk cow. I can get my milk from her. I have another friend that does beef cattle. So yeah, I think we're content right now, but we're always open to whatever God wants for us to do.
If you guys had something come along that felt like a good fit, would like the whole family compound go along, or that would just be like individual decisions, or you guys want to keep it together?
Yeah, they all want to. We've got 5 kids and 9 grandkids, and they all want to go wherever we go. So they all moved with us from the north to here. We're kind of what we call halfbacks. And so they all came with us here. They all ended up marrying kids and stuff from this area, which was good. And all their spouses want to be on the land with us. So regardless of where we were to go, they would all follow. Yeah.
That's great. That's pretty similar to how we are up here. My mom and dad are just down the hill a short bit. My brother is also close by, and this was land that my great grandfather bought in the 30s. So it feels very right to have all of us here together. Um,
Mm-hmm.
and we're a small family, and none of us have had kids of our own, but we're liking the way it is. And I
Yeah.
am very, very, very glad that Angel and I decided to come back in 2020 and do our, sell our little place in the city and kind of expand the operation up here. So I'm so happy to hear that. When I go out to consult with folks, that's always one of the first questions I ask is like, is it just going to be you and your spouse, or are there, are we looking at kids, multi-generational thing? Do you want to just kind of build an organic community? Because it's just such a falsehood. People who think that it's just supposed to be some guy out there roughing it all alone. It's just that's literally not how humans
Yeah.
have
Evolved
set
over
up
time. Yeah.
sites. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's just great to hear.
Yeah.
Well, I would love to come out and see your all's place sometime if you would like that. I just get a kick out of seeing stuff like that, and um,
Absolutely. Yeah. Well,
it
hopefully,
sounds it sounds like it's awesome.
if we have something this fall, like we've also talked about having like a farm to table big dinner, where we can get people together that just want to put our heads together and talk about the state of where we're at, where we're hoping to go, that kind of thing. So we're considering doing something like that even this fall too. So, all those kinds of things that might be coming down the pike will be in, through our email system. So definitely people can stay in touch with that as long as, as far as that goes. And we really enjoyed coming out to your place and walking around and seeing the sheep and all your solar and, your off-grid situation that was going on there. And what a great place we met so many people, and I think a lot of them are coming to the festival. So that again is just, that's community, right?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. All it takes is talking to one other person. We don't we don't have to worry about necessarily trying to reach everybody. Just
Right.
talk to that person who's also buying fruit trees at the nursery, who's standing beside
Yeah.
you in line. I mean, it really is that simple.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, let folks know the best way to get in touch with you, do the mailing list, all that good stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, go ahead and pass that along.
Okay. So I'll actually put it down here in the chat so people can see it if I can do that. Oh, maybe not. I don't know if I can do that. I guess I can't.
If you do it in the private chat, I can paste that over into the other one.
Okay, so I'll do that.
If I can see it. Okay.
So if people go to, if people go to East Tennessee Homestead Alliance, or it's East TN Homestead Alliance at .com, that is going to get them to the website that I currently have. So when I created this festival, when I had the idea for the festival, I came home, I was like, oh shoot, we need a name. And then I need a way for people to get information. So now I need a website. Well, I really didn't want to go out and try to build a whole nother website. I already had a website for my current business. So I thought, well, I'm just going to create a tab in that for right now because I wanted to get on to festival stuff. So when people go to East TN Homestead Alliance, they're going to actually drop in to my other business and they'll just go to the tab. Once the festival's over and we take, a couple weeks to catch our breath, I already have my other website built. That one will go live, and then people will be able to, this link will actually go to the new website. So they can still use the same link. But on that, you're going to be able to go in there and see the where you can get the newsletter, where you can be attached to us. We're probably going to end up building out a membership platform through that new website so that we can have that membership portal that it's going to be the members that are going to have access to all the videos, that kind of thing. And you guys can follow us on Facebook at East Tennessee Homestead Alliance, on Instagram, same thing. And that's where you can find me and everything that we're doing. Thrusting towards this. And then, once this festival is over, then we're going to be ramping up with all the other things that we're hoping to do with the directory and connecting everybody with the proper places that they need to be. Cool. And future events.
Yeah. Well, I've mentioned it before, but if there's any way that I can help serve in that capacity, I'm pretty good at getting word around and stuff. So just keep me posted on how I can help, including the day of the festival. I am not one to like park myself at the booth for very long. So I tend to have my information out and available for people, and I like to mill around. So if you need to shoot me a text, if you need anything at all, please let me know.
Good to know. Good to know. I'm sure there will be moments when I'm like, who can I snag to get this done? I mean, it takes an army, right? It takes that volunteer army to come together. And I'm so thankful for the many volunteers that we have that are really coming in and blessing us to be able to make this thing happen and hopefully happen smooth. There's always a learning curve. It's the first event that we've done. So there's definitely some learning curves and some things we'll probably do different in the future, but that's a part of the process. And I've embraced all that. And we're going to grow through it. When you're just learning to walk, you crawl first and then you toddle around a little and then you get those legs going underneath you. So thank you to Pinky's Garden. I will definitely, you guys, if you're on this call tonight, and you please come introduce yourself to me at the festival, and don't be afraid to say, is there something I can do? I'm really good. If you were at that first meeting, I'm really good at saying, I'm voluntolding you. Guess what you're doing today? Because it's hard to be everywhere at once. You just can't.
Yeah, absolutely. We want to make sure everybody takes care of themselves, stay hydrated. Don't forget your electrolytes along with the water that you should be drinking.
Yes, please.
And,
yes, please.
Get your big floppy hats.
Get your hats. We're gonna have merchandise there to buy. We'll have bandanas that are cooling bandanas, so people can stay, keep somewhat hydrated. There will be water all over the place. And next year, we actually got a chance to speak to a lot of sponsors at the event in Nashville a couple weekends ago, to Relight, Redmond Real Salt, and to Azure Standard, and all these guys. They're super excited about being a part of the festival next year. So we're really looking towards having a larger space. So when you guys land on the space this year, it's a couple acres. But there's 40 acres here that we can expand out into. And so we're pretty excited about being able to do that. Our goal is to triple the amount of people on the grounds next year.
Awesome. On that note, Pinky did share, just as kind of a backup plan, and for those who may need to know that, let me go back here and find it. There is a McDonald farm down on her end. Is McDonald Farm in Hamilton County is another location should you need one. Okay. So yeah, if people have info like that, kind of, make sure it gets to one of us, at some point, just for anybody who may need it or anybody who wants to do classes. I also visited, do you know Blake Reimer with Tennessee Mountain Farm down in Old Fort?
No.
Very, very cool dude. So I met him a couple of weekends ago when I attended a Homestead boot camp event at the Haven Earth Trade School, which is down there, Old Fort. It's the natural way that he raises pigs on deep bedding. And he's kind of similar to me. He's fourth generation on the land, and he's been converting his 60-something acre family farm that was a commercial chicken house operation into fully regenerative methods. And I got to go, he invited me out the following weekend to kind of go around and do a tour. And I kind of came out there as kind of like a unofficial consult as well, and then getting more information from him. But he's got a beautiful spot out there too. And he's scaling up, doing processing classes. He's got glamping sites. So there's lots. So for people who are doing smaller scale, I would say probably like under 100 people events, something like that would be set up. So if anybody, I've kind of mentioned it in previous lives, but Tennessee Mountain Farm, look that up. Excellent dude, very down to earth, very cool guy. And his whole family's out there. His mama's still there, and they're just doing all kinds of cool stuff. He's got a farm store there too, so you can buy his products. And we're everywhere. I mean, that's the thing. People are like, I don't know where to get such and such. And it's like, here's a list. Here you go.
Yeah. 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 And that's the goal, right? Is just to really connect everybody together and let everybody find their people and go for it. Like there's no reason anymore that you have to do this alone or do it without any knowledge. Like there's just so much knowledge out there. And that's really what we want to tap into is harness it, start getting it out to the masses, and I just really hope that this just grows and grows. I hope it gets bigger than me and I got to get a whole team of people together to do this,
Yeah.
because, and it's not about it being big, but it's about, to me, the bigger it is, the more it's getting and more it's reaching, the greater the reach is. And I just feel like it's so important in today's day and age that we have that reach and we have that education and we gather that next generation together to understand the power that they have in their own hands to be sustainable.
Yeah, absolutely. And um, I'm really happy to kind of wind it up on that note because I do think there are people who feel like they don't have that power or they don't or cannot obtain that level of control in their lives. And I want to be part of the team that helps them see otherwise.
Yes.
So, yes, absolutely. Well, I can't thank you enough for all the work you've put in, for taking time this evening to sit down with us and chat for a little bit. Y'all who came into the chat, thank you very much for participating. Just it means a lot to me that people take time to come in and hang out on our little live stream here. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up. Sandy, if you don't mind to just hang loose for just a second, I had a couple of questions for you offline, and guys, we will talk to you next weekend. It won't be a Friday Night Live because I'm gonna be in Townsend doing the thing. And I'm sure by the time I get home, it's going to be late and I'm going to be tired. But we'll definitely do some kind of wrap up, maybe on Sunday. So I'll post up about that. So thank you again, Sandy.
Yes.
Everybody, y'all have a great evening. We'll talk to you next time.
See you later.